Before we proceed with the items on the agenda, I need to remind you of the usual housekeeping messages. There are no fire alarms test planned for this evening, so if the alarm sounds, please leave the chamber by the nearest door and follow the illuminated fire exit signs and assemble in the car park at the rear of the building. Would you all please ensure that your phones and tablet devices are on silent mode? You have the right to film this meeting if you wish, but I would like to know before we begin whether anyone in the room plans to do this. If you intend on filming the meeting in one part of it, would you please indicate now? The first item on the evening's agenda is the apologies for absence. We have received apologies from Councillor Lady Dulcie Atkins and Sir Robert Atkins, Councillor Kay, Councillor Meekins, Mulliner, Felwys and Vincent, and Councillor Beavers and Councillor Blair. Is there any more apologies? Okay. The next item on the agenda is a confirmation of the minutes. Can I please have a proposal that the minutes of the council meeting held on Thursday the 30th of November 2023 be approved as a correct record?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to ask that the minutes be approved.
Second for that proposal?
Madam Mayor, I wish to second that.
Does anyone want to comment on the factual accuracy of the minutes or propose any amendments? Would those members present at the 30th of November meeting who are in favour and confirm the minutes as a correct record, please clearly indicate. Is there any against who wasn't present? That's passed, thank you. The minutes of that meeting, of the 30th of November meeting, is confirmed. The next item on the agenda is item 3, the declaration of interest. Please note that the monitoring officer has granted a dispensation to all members to enable participation in the debate and vote on the item 10, members allowed scheme. Do any members or officers have any interest to declare on any items included on the agenda?
I just want to declare pecuniary interest in agenda item number 50, which is the senior leadership Seabury structure, and that's on behalf of Mark Billington, Marion Pesca, Claire James, Joanne Billington, and Mary Grimshaw. They'll lead the meeting. Agenda item 14 has concluded.
Thank you very much for that. The next item is item 4, announcements. I just have one announcement to make for your diary. I'd like to remind members that I will be hosting obviously a charity race night on April the 6th at Garstang Golf Club. Obviously it's a meal and obviously a race night, but I will actually ask people if they can't make it whether they could sponsor a horse for £5 for the evening. So I'll probably at the next meeting I be going round with my deputy maybe going round. So, but hopefully it'll be a lovely evening. I hope you can make it on Saturday the 6th of April. So the next item is item 5, public questions or statements. However, there are no questions from the public this evening. The next item is item 6, questions and notice from councillors. Again, there are no questions on notice from councillors. So we'll now move on to the next item, which is the executive report. A polite reminder that each speaker has 3 minutes only, and there will be 10 minutes of speaking overall for each executive report. And if you could please indicate clearly, put your hand up to speak. Right. The first report is the leader of the council. In the absence of Councillor Councillor Vincent, Councillor Berry, would you please introduce the report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report of the leader is before you. I'll do my best to answer any questions or comments members may have.
Councillor Stevenson, I think you was first off the blocks there.
No, it wasn't.
It was.
Am I due to speak?
No.
I think I've got out of turn. I think I'm in hot water here. But I'm going to try to get out of it. Right, let's. I'm obliged to you as usual. Right, I'm simply going to ask you a sensible question, which I consider to be very sensible, and I'm hoping I'm going to get an honest answer to you. It deals with theatres review. I'll be talking about 4.2, GLG consulting. What we really want to know is, it's completely shrouded in mystery, is all of what's going to happen. What could be, might be, should be, would be. What really we want to know is how much is it going to cost? Now, can this council reassure us that if a new source, I think that new source word has been plucked out of the air, a new source, we don't really know what that means, do we? And I don't think you do either, is adopted to take over the running of this much needed asset, would it be on behalf of this authority? No use hiding behind the bushes on this one. Let's have a straight answer. What's happening? How soon will we get to know what's going to happen, or what might happen, or what should happen? And how much has been spent on this consultation already? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. I think the leader has given indication that we would like to think that the theatre will continue. I think we've given that indication, but we need to know the appropriate way forward, and that is why we're employing consultants who have experience of the whole market, who have experience of local authorities, who have experience of running theatres, to advise us exactly what would be the best way forward, and whether we can sort of invite certain other parties to advise us and to seek and to show their interest with regard to the theatre. At the end of the day, we would like it to continue as a theatre, but we obviously have to think and take a lot of considerations into account. I think we're aware of the financial situation, and it's important that we get the right answer. And I think it's worthwhile spending on consultancy who can give us full advice, so that we get all the advice we can get, so that we can do the best to maintain the Marine Hall Theatre for the people of Wyre and for other visitors to the area. I do not know the cost of it, to be quite honest. It's no use me saying that. I do not know that answer. That no doubt can be provided to you by officers.
Councillor Partridge, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Regarding item 2, the Lancashire devolution deal, I know that the public consultation has now started. What do you believe are the main benefits?
In fact, I think the public consultation started some time ago, and I think it ends tomorrow. In fact, that's my understanding. I think it's important that the public are consulted. We know that the model that's before us for Lancashire involves the 3 unitaries, and it's important that they know what the people and businesses of Lancashire feel about what's on offer, and no doubt they will take that into account and then make a decision whether or not to proceed. I think, personally speaking, I think the time is that we need to progress with this now. I think Lancashire's missed out for far too long. I think we need to settle differences and get going. Because I think it opens the door. I think it, gives us tremendous opportunities here in Wyre to get funding, tourism, all the things that carbon, all the things that we need to think about, better education. Those are the things that mean so much to this area, and we can get that with a devolution deal. So we want to go ahead with it, but the public have got to have the say.
Councillor Higginson, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And it is on the point of the devolution deal. Given that Hyndburn Authority have recently voted against this, ought we to also have a vote? I mean, in the name of democracy, if you'll forgive me laughing, that they have had this vote, and are we frightened of the outcome by not having a vote? Are we going to respond at all to this consultation? Because the silence is going to be definite. I think the danger is that if we don't respond at all, it rather suggests that we have no objections to it. And if we're not careful, this authority is going to turn into either the sort of powers that a town council or a parish council would have. So that's the first point. And also I'd like to ask in 2.34 with regards improvements to public transport, I wonder, would the Secretary of State take into account the desire of this authority to reopen the rail link from Fleetwood? Will this be taken into account in all this consultation? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I think across this chamber, the views of both the Conservative group and the Labour group have been expressed, and we know what those views are, certainly from the Conservative group, and we have made it quite clear that we are in favour of this devolution deal. There is further conversations to have down the line. I think a lot will come out of this public consultation. I think that's important, that the public can express, we can express, you can express your views on it. The Labour group, as a group, can express what they want in this consultation. So it will then come down to the leaders to discuss it at Lancashire Leaders. I'm sure there will be a thorough discussion of the subject, and that will be taken on board by the three unitaries. But as I say, I think for us to say that we are for or against, I think we should just rely on the public opinion of what we want, because we know the views of our various groups that have already been expressed in previous council meetings.
So just to clarify, the answer to that is we don't need a vote.
I don't think with the view of the group is that we don't need.
The second question.
The second question is that I've no doubt that the rail link will be part of a transport policy. That is one of the things that devolution does take into account. But we are in the hands of Network Rail on that, aren't we? We know we are, and we as a group have expressed our wish that the link is established. So we will be putting that forward. It's one of the things
as long as these views are reinforced at every opportunity, because this is a vital link.
Yeah,
Thank you. It's not debated.
Thank you.
Councillor Fail, please.
It's Councillor Stacey who's before me, so that's your view.
Sorry. There's only about a minute left, so
Right.
please quick.
I'll be as quick as I can. It's with regards to 4.1 and 4.2. We've no tourism strategy in place. We've made no attempt to lower running costs. We've made no attempt to adjust fees and charges, and they've ballooned over the recent years. And add to that the board consultation that includes questions such as the preferred option to safeguard the future of the marine hall is to find a suitable alternative provider. Do you think this is the right approach? Is a leading question if ever there was. Isn't it time we managed these assets professionally rather than march headlong over the cliff Like Lemmings?
I think I've indicated already in response to the previous inquiry that I think we are making the right approach. We're trying to keep it open as a theatre. I think it's well known that we've made every effort to run the theatre, but the costs have increased substantially. And I think it would be best that it is sort of, we've got to look at alternatives to a council theatre. I think we have got to look at that. We'll see what comes out of it, and we'll then sort of draw conclusions. But at this moment in time, I think it's fair to say there's very, very few local authorities run theatres. I think that's a fact. So so I think there may be a change in the line, but we'll have to see what comes out of it. We're viewing it with an open mind.
Thank you for that. That actually concludes, because the time is now up for that concludes the leader's report. We will now move on to the report of the resources portfolio holder. So, Councillor Mackay, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My report's before members. I'm happy to take any questions.
Councillor Baxter, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A question linked to item 3.2 of your report, issues linked to RAC and the closure of Blackpool magistrates in dealing with unpaid council tax. Could you give us an indication of how much the council is currently owed, which is overdue, and any expectation of how or when this is likely to be collected? Thank you.
Response, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillor Baxter, our collection rates are actually really good at Wyre Council. At the moment, on council tax alone, our collection rate is 80%. That's compared to 81% at the same time last year. So we've no worries with that. With business rates, we're actually ahead of collection last year. We're at about 83% compared to 81%. Our target is usually by the end of the year to be at 97% collection, which I think you'll all agree is pretty impressive, and we're on track to get there. So, whilst obviously this isn't ideal, it isn't really a problem for the council. The issue is that it's an inconvenience. It means that we might have to travel to Blackburn, Preston, Lancaster Magistrates Court. Our ideal choice would be to go to Fleetwood with Blackpool not open, but unfortunately there are certain conditions, and I think we have to have open cells in use and things like that. That means that we can't use certain magistrates' courts. So it might be more difficult to collect those bits of money that we haven't got in, but for us as a council, it's not seen as a big issue. If that's what you might address.
Thank you for that. Councillor Fair, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, Wyre continues to build the houses government wants it to, and in return, Wyre is given new homes bonus. For more than a decade, we've seen large-scale house building, yet new homes bonus monies coming to Wyre have not been used to improve infrastructure. Allegedly, the very thing new homes bonus system was set up for. We all know that Conservative government austerity has resulted in huge cuts in funding to this and other councils. The question now is, will the new homes bonus continue to be used to plug a hole in Wyre's finances caused by Conservative austerity, or will the new homes bonus money for once be spent on improving infrastructure like residents expect it to be?
Thank you, Councillor File. As you well know, we are not in a position to allocate that sum of money purely to new homes and to infrastructure. It would be wrong of me to say there's any intention of us doing that. We are working to really tight budgets, and we'll do what's best in the interests of our residents. And the infrastructure problems that you raise, the majority of those are out of our hands. The highways issues, education issues, we can only do what we can do as a borough council, and we are doing the best we can with the resources we have. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you, Councillor Simpson.
I'd like to ask, following on from Councillor Fair's point, is there no moral obligation in regards to the new homes bonus being used for this purpose? Because the whole idea of the new homes bonus in the first instance was and remains that it should be used to offset the impact of development. So where is the moral obligation to residents And I suppose you could even argue central government, who are effectively giving this money to the council on that basis.
Thank you, Councillor Sorensen. I think initially it was set up to help against the amount of development we had in our areas, but gradually as these funding, as these monies have carried on coming in, they have become a prop for councils like us to support other spending, and that isn't ideal, and morally it's not ideal, but it's the position that we are in as a council, and we have to use the money that we have coming in, and we have to work with that to make sure we get the crucial services provided for our residents. So in an ideal world, yes, we will be using those monies to provide all the infrastructure that these properties need, but as we are at this current moment, we're having to use those resources to help in other areas.
Just to add to that point, I recently put up a quick point. I put a proposal that will probably generate about £125,000 over the next few years as a commercial opportunity for the council, which was almost instantly rejected. So here we have a situation where we're talking about, so just finish the point, sorry. We're talking about how we have got the money when we get the opportunity to consider the chance of having an income stream. It's rejected. It's bizarre. It's just hypocrisy.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
No.
No more questions. That concludes the consideration of the resources portfolio holders report. We will now move on to the street themed parks and open spaces portfolio holder. So, Councillor Britt, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report's in front of you. If anybody has any questions, please have a say.
Well, there's no questions. That concludes the consideration of the street scene, the parks and open spaces portfolio.
No, I'm waiting for
Oh.
this one.
Really?
You
Yes.
know my race night. Right, so that obviously concludes the hope of putting there. So we'll now move on to the report of the planning policy and economic development portfolio holder. So Councillor Marinelle, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Report before Council. Happy to answer any questions.
Councillor Duffy.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Very quick off the mark, but I am. I am sitting down. I'm not too good tonight, so rather than fall down, I'll remain seated.
Can I guess what it's about?
That's all right. Right. Councillor Mariner, at the last full council meeting, Councillor Vincent insinuated that there weren't any funds at Fleetwood Market, even going so far as to label me as shameful and scaremongering for raising concerns. But it appears to have made the council sit up, take note, and do what I suggested in knowing the rent. So that's actually worth an acorn. However, in 5.1 of your report, you state that completion of the works is now programmed for tomorrow. Yes. I just don't understand how that can possibly be the case when there's still major issues at the market and not the minor bits you mentioned. I'm talking about unfinished doors and windows, electric cabling hanging down, but the worst aspect of the unfinished work is the lack of adequate heating. The heating has not been working properly for quite some time, and I've been informed that it will not be remedied for several weeks to come. And in the meantime, the whole building is freezing. Yes, there's a contraption, if that's what you want to call it, in each hall blowing out a bit of warm air. But other than literally standing in front of it and a half, I've tried it, it's the biggest waste of money I've seen in a long time. It's the equivalent of trying to heat this chamber with a hairdryer, and that's not an exaggeration. It's serious, you couldn't make it up. My meeting with the traders last week again highlighted the anger and frustration that they are feeling. I feel no one is listening to them other than me. The temperature last week was less than 7 degrees indoors, and this has been going on since last year. Some traders are not even opening the stores because it is too cold to stand there all day. Those that are opening, the takings are minuscule, or in some cases, not one penny taken all day. Yes, footfall is definitely down. People have gone to the market and quickly retreated because of the conditions. So, Councillor Marinelle, first, I would ask that the traders get a reduction in their service charge because, as it stands, they are definitely not getting the service they are paying for and haven't for some time. I know you dropped the rates of VAT, but that is totally a separate issue to rent reduction. And secondly, I would ask you accompany me to the market so you can see firsthand the amount of work that's still required and experience the conditions that the traders and visitors are having to contend with, and give them the reassurance you are listening. And if you could I can speak with you after I've got evidence on the laptop. You'll be absolutely shocked when you see what I've got pictures of, honestly. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Your next response, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thanks for your questions, Councillor Duffy. I was in Fleetwood Market last week myself, actually, and it is really, really cold. I do agree with you. And there are problems with the heating, as you well know. It needs a bigger pump. That's the main thing. The size of the current pump isn't sufficient to pump the water around the system. It's down to the subcontractor actually basically putting the wrong pipes in there. So they're looking at spec and new prices, and as you say, it's going to take between 2 and 4 weeks to do that. It's a complicated system. It consists of 6 different air pumps that actually go around, which heat the water, and they get circulated around the rated panels.
Paying for something they're not getting.
I'll get to that. Hold on. So, the rated panels are what heats each of the halls, and of course, if they're not hot, then it's not going to be any heat in there at all. It'd be great once it's working, I promise. But it also supports the council climate policy as well, which is good. I say it's no fault of the council because it is down to the subcontractor. As you say, there is some heating in there at the moment, but it's rubbish. And the heater that they tried to put in there in the first place just blew all the electrics, so it kept tripping them all the time, so they couldn't use those, so they tried something else. And again, they're actually looking at something different over the next few weeks just to try and put some heat in there. So I agree, it was really cold. I did speak to a number of the stall holders, had some decent conversation with them, and it's as it is. But in previous times, you mentioned about the 20% that have left as well. And it wasn't actually 20% that left because historically the market capacity is 90%, well it's 85 to 90%. So if we look at a 90% occupancy rate from 207, it actually brings it down to 186. And there's 40 turnkey stalls, and that makes it down to 165, which makes 21, which does make 10% reduction of the ones that actually left before Christmas. And as you well know, since then we've put a rebate in, so there's no rent to pay for any store holders indoors for the whole of January. We get a 75% reduction in February, 50% reduction in March, 25% reduction in April. That's a £56,000 input from the council, which is a lot of money to do that. And then hopefully from April then onwards and into Easter and spring and summer and into the new season, so it will be a lot better on that. Where the service charge is concerned, it's difficult because it's in arrears, as you know, so it's what they're paying is from last year basically. And as you know, I'm looking at a way of trying to change the way the service charge is done. And the problem with that is it's trying to find a way from bringing it from arrears all the way back into the present time. I'd like to move to a quarterly payment where we can move the prices up and down as things fluctuate, so that makes it a big difference. So on the plus side, Julian's had 2 new applications in. There's nobody less than Christmas. We've had 2 new applications in that he's dealing with, so that's really good. And we've also got an event planned in the market on the 9th of March as well, which is will be by Historic England, celebrating the actual Fleetwood Market itself.
Sorry, you've not answered any of the questions that I've asked. The heating they are paying for, they're not getting.
I've just told you that
the figures that I got were from officers that said the 80%.
I think the response,
giving false information out.
The response was there.
This is the campaign.
We can have a chat.
Definitely.
We're going to move on to the next one, please. Councillor Fail.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The previous authorities monitoring report for 21-22 stated that of 749 house completions, 4% were 1 bed, whereas the strategic housing market assessment said it should have been 7%. 26% were 2 bed, whereas the SHMA says it should have been 31%. 30% were 3 bed, whereas SHMA said it should have been 43%. And 40% were 4 bed plus, whereas the SHMA said it should have been only 18%. An under provision of 1, 2, 3 bed houses, but surprise, surprise, a massive over provision of 4 bed houses. The most recent authorities monitoring report, 22-23, said that of 719 house completions, 13% were 1 bed, whereas the SHMA said it should have been 7%. 27% were 2 bed, whereas SHMA said it should have been 31%. 28% were 3 bed, whereas the SHMA said it should have been 43%. And 32% were 4 plus bed, where the SHMA said it should have been 18%. So last year was a better outcome for much needed 1 bed houses, but But yet again, a big under-provision for 3-bed houses. Why on earth is Wyre continuing to build the wrong type of houses? We're seeing this anomaly year after year. Can I ask, when is Wyre going to take action to stop this? It results in increased demand for smaller properties and consequently increased rents for smaller properties.
Yeah, thanks about that. When I was on planning for 4 years, and there's a number of people in here who've done planning with me at the same time, it's something I've banged on about all the time. I brought it constantly for lots of different applications. So I agree with you. But the problem is it's advisory. It's not something that's actually written down and can actually be done. And I agree. I'm totally agree there should be more 1, 2 and 3 bedroom properties. It's something I always banged on about, but it's an advisory thing and it's not something that we can actually put into planning for that reason. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Fielding, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To the portfolio holder, the Junior Environment Minister, Robbie Moore, said at the beginning of this January that local authorities could go a lot further when scrutinising planning applications by taking into account the impact of flooding. Does the portfolio holder agree with this sentiment? And if so, what does he think going a lot further should entail?
Thank you, Madam. Thank you for your question. Again, when I was on planning for 4 years, and they're all nodding because I went on about it all the time. I think one of the most surprising things about planning is that you can build affordable homes on flood-free areas. I find it absolutely bizarre. And again, when I was on planning for 4 years, it's something I banged on about all the time. If an application came before us about built on flood-free or flood-2, it's something I brought up constantly. So I agree with you. I'd like to see no building whatsoever on flood-free, and especially when it's affordable homes. So yeah, I would agree with that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor A. Walker, please, but it's a quick one, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As many here, we've been suffering growth in infrastructure at telegraph poles recently, with which we can do little or nothing to do with. But I think there's probably going to be a lot more infrastructure as the years go by. So can we reassure our residents that the Wyre Council's expertise keeps an eye on this and encourages as much sharing of infrastructure as we can with their expertise on it? Thank you.
Thanks for the question. Yeah, when it's in an area of conservation area, we can definitely do something about it. But as you say, when it's anywhere else, there's not a lot we can do. Each application does come through planning just to tell them it's going to happen, but there's not a great deal we can do about it, unfortunately, because it's just government policy. I'd like to see it be changed, because I'd like to see it come forward as a planning application for every single one that they want to do, but currently that's not the way it is, I'm afraid.
Thank you for that quick answer. So that concludes the consideration of the planning portfolio and economic development portfolio holders report. We will now move on to the report of the neighbourhood services and community safety portfolio. So, Councillor Berry, would you please introduce your report? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just by way of introduction to my report, I just want to mention that, I think I mentioned this at the last meeting, that on the 28th of February, there's going to be a community meeting at the North Euston Hotel between 7 and 9 p.m, dealing with, it's like a community event, getting together agencies and voluntary agencies to see what more can be done to engage with the public in Fleetwood so that better services can be delivered in our communities. I think it started out in the Clearhall Build area, but it has been spread to the rest of Fleetwood. So I think it should be an interesting meeting, and I look forward to being there myself. Other than that, and I'll do my best to move my report before colleagues. I'll do my best to answer any questions or comments.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Swatton, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Councillor Berry, it's about 6.1. In it, you said that Fleetwood and Cleveland have retained their good quality water rating. It's my understanding, after talking with local residents, community groups, and even looking at government data, that this is actually not the case. That our waters are filled with E. coli and are unsafe for swimmers. I'm just wondering where exactly you've been getting your data from.
We get our data from the Environment Agency, who do the official testing. There is a testing period from May to September. and the Environment Agency do the testing within that period, and they give us the results of that, and that's where we get our rating. I'm aware of other groups, making comments about it, and I think one group is going to do some measuring themselves, which I think will help with the data. I'm quite hopeful about this myself. I think we need more data. I think we need more up-to-date data, and throughout the year, and this is what we've been trying to engage with the Environment Agency, say, let's up, will you up your game on this and get some, sort of more yearly, round the year sort of testing, and give us it so that we can advise people properly about whether we should be swimming in the sea on that particular day. But that's the position that we officially have got to abide by the EEA, but we are more than happy to listen to others who are doing some testing, getting their comments and feeding it back to the EEA.
Thank you for that. Well, the response is there.
Yeah, but it's the fact that he's brought up the Environment Agency, because that's what has me so concerned, because they're the ones that have actually reported about the POA ratings being so high as of July to September for the stocks. I'm just wondering if we, as a council, have a duty of care to talk about the fact.
Well, if you want to, obviously, together, Councillor Berry, yes? Yeah, in response to that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Councillor Rushford, please.
Mine is actually a little bit of feedback for you, Councillor Berry. As you know, I'm very interested in community safety, and I have had concerns about it in the past and the performance of the police. Now, recently, and unfortunately, I did have cause to call the police myself, and I wanted to take this back to any of your meetings you have with the Deputy Crime Commissioner. And we reluctantly phoned the police, but in the past I've been hanging on the phone for over an hour when I've rung 101. This time my call was answered within 30 seconds, and I had a patrol car out within a few hours. So I don't know what they've done in the communication team. It's absolutely marvellous from my perspective that night. So can you please spread that back to your meetings? The other one, I want to just inform you, when we're talking about, you've just mentioned about agencies coming together, the Bethel Church, which hosts the Hope Community Care Hub, has instigated, due to the work of two of the local PCSOs, Denise Crichton and Dan Marty, they've instigated and implemented surgeries which took place there on Tuesday, where anybody can just come and talk to the police. So basically, you've got a really good point of contact, and that was so successful. That will happen fortnightly now, and other agencies will be invited to that as well. So I just wanted to let you know that there is good work going on in Breezel with police and communities together. So thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I'm very pleased to hear that. The question of answering particularly 101 calls at the control centre in Hull has been a concern to members of the panel for quite some time, and I think our complaints and concerns are bearing fruit now. There is another way you can digitally pass your concerns to them as well, and I think what the police would like people to be involved is in the know, their system of in the know. So that if you have any concerns, you can post it on there, and it is picked up.
This was a crime. This was
well, if it's a crime, then if a crime's in progress, then it can be 999. It's as simple as that. I'm very pleased to hear that the neighbourhood police have taken sort of a keen interest in the local. That's what they're there for. We want them to be embedded in the community.
And now we've got a direct link between the community and the police.
That's what we want. Thank you.
Councillor Minter, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is Councillor Berry. In the past, we've had problems with the emergency number. It's been unmanned, it's been unanswered. Can you give us some confidence that this is now not the case? Thank you.
You mean at the Civic Centre here? I'm not.
7.1, Wyre operates.
Oh yeah, right, okay, right, yeah, it is there, I'm a bit surprised that your calls go unanswered. An officer is duty to answer the calls, I mean, the thing is that if your calls are not being answered, I think you need to report it in straight away, and then we can see why that has not been attended to. It's as simple as that. We do, not all authorities do have an emergency number out of hours. We do, and it should be operating, and I'm saddened to hear that it's not been operating in your case. But if you can report it to us, we'll do something about it.
Councillor Swatton?
Thank you. Councillor Barrett, I'm just wondering if you know what our duty of care is in regards to alerting the public to any public health crisis, or because the outbreak of E. coli in the water supply, as the Environment Agency has reported in their latest findings in September, is still nearly 100 times our average, which constitutes a massive health risk to any swimmers, any local residents, anyone that uses our seas, yet no mention of it was made in the report. In fact, it goes on to talk about having a good rating and to continue to use the seas, despite the fact that there is a significant E. coli risk. In fact, as of today, there has been another sewage spill into Fleetwood and Cleveland's waters, increasing the risk of, a public health crisis. What is our duty of care to report this to residents?
I think we're completely and utterly dependent on the EA and the public health authorities to make that declaration, to be quite honest. We do not have the facilities to test waters ourselves, so we have to rely on the agencies that are there to do the job. So, I mean, well, they're supposed to do their job. If you feel that there are instances, then by all means report it in to our environmental health team, and they will take it up with them. Why is it not happening? But we can only act on sort of the advice of bodies that we sort of have to recognise.
Thank you for that. If there's no more questions, that concludes the consideration of the Neighbourhood Services and Community Safety Portfolio's audit report. We'll now move on to the report of the Leisure Health and Community Engagement Portfolio. Councillor Bowen, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My report's before you. There's only one thing I think I'll just try and give you an update on the Marine Hall. Well, I can. The theatre consultants that we've got in, GJG, are recommended highly by the Theatres Trust, who are the leading body in the country for theatres and public places. The report, it recommends more commercial use to get it more sustainable. Well, that's obvious really, isn't it? And we've got to streamline the events to make sure that they are profitable instead of making peanuts on various events what they have there. They've got to be profitable in the future. And be a bit more selective when they're taking bookings. And also, I mean, if we get it a bit more sustainable in that way, we can still use it for community use, which is very important for that. That's why we got it really. That's why we keep it going. After we've gone into done all those recommendations, we are hoping to get a specialist to come in and set up new activities and new events and a new programme that will be more sustainable. And we have used the advice from the best people in the country for this, and we haven't done this lightly. And these aren't the actions of someone that's going to close it down. No intentions of closing it down. All we need to do is get it more sustainable for the future going forward.
Councillor Vale, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Your report provides some positive news from the Marine Hall and Thornton Theatre. Your report also reports encouraging news on increasing visitor numbers. Can you explain to this council why on earth you would wish to sell off or outsource 2 jewels in Wyre when these community assets have the ability not only to succeed but to fund future improvements?
First of all, no intentions of selling either as I've just said, we're trying to make them more sustainable. The Thornton Little Theatre, we've got 6 people interested, and they've got until the 10th of February to come forward and tell us what they think, how they're going to use the Thornton Little Theatre and what community use they would be prepared to have there as well. So as you can see, we've absolutely no intention of selling either of these. So I don't know where you get your information from, but that's the way we're going forward, to try and make them both sustainable so they can go forward as council assets.
Thank you for that. Councillor Rusforth, please.
Thank you. Councillor Bowen, looking at environmental protection 2.1, it says that there has been a significant increase in demand on this service of about 11%. Does this department have sufficient resources to meet any further demands, as this is a very important area with regards to public satisfaction and indeed public safety, and to be quite frank, it is most definitely how the council can be judged, public satisfaction.
Thank you. Yeah, we've got the trouble with the environment, the environmental health department. They've got 5 people off sick at the moment, 2 of them very seriously ill. So they've had to try and get other officers to take over. We've got the land contamination officer who has agreed to do 15 hours a week, who we've got on from a private recruitment company. Because when you think about it, all councils are desperate for these people, so we've done really well to get somebody at last minute to take over. Food safety, we've got an ex-officer from Wyre who's agreed to come back for 15 hours a week. Another officer is going to take a senior role in food safety and health, and that's where we are at the moment, really. You know, I mean, it's been really, really desperate out there, and those 2 people, they don't know if they're going to come back to work or not because they're so seriously ill.
So my question is, I'm not asking about how the council is managing now, although obviously it is struggling. How will the council manage if the demand on that service continues to increase?
Thank you. Councillor Stevenson, Brian.
I'm obliged to you, Madam Mayor, as always. This is sort of a continuation of a few words I had with Councillor Berry earlier. Sort of non-political. So, you know, I'm not going to, as I already spoke with Councillor Berry, I'll leave it Clyde, to use quite a lot of words. It's sort of non-political, is this, I hope. Anyway, the good news, which you mentioned, is very pleasing to hear. Just a slight political point though. You know, if I was you, or if I was a leader, I would send that news to the occupant, the present occupant of number 10. He's in need of good news, poor lad. You know, and we feel for him. Right, now, one more very important thing. No Shakespeare is being shown at any of our theatres, or very little. So we need to have more Shakespeare. Definitely do need more. Definitely. And to move on, you know, whilst everything appears to be rosy in the garden here at the moment, we don't know what the future holds. Could be bad news when you get the liberation. You know, we're just hoping that there's no dark deeds afoot. So no dark deeds afoot, and you know what they mean. So what I would say at the end of it is, when all the manoeuvring is stopped, no dark deeds afoot, everything's presented to us, you know, we just hope it's not going to be a comedy of errors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. Councillor Higginson, please.
It's all right, Madam Mayor.
Just a comment.
Switch your microphone off.
My question's already been answered. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Friendly chat.
Councillor Fielding.
Continuing with the Shakespeare theme, I think that was much ado about nothing.
I just want to come back to Councillor Stevenson. If he wants anything that's political, I'll tell you something that's political. When Labour was in power at this council in the late 90s, the subsidy for the Marine Hall was £600,000 a year, and that it must equate to at least over £1 million these days. So, you know, if you want to be political, there you go.
I'm not political.
Sorry,
thank you.
You're being
Thank
political.
you. If there's no more questions, that concludes the consideration of the Leisure Health and Community Engagement Portfolio Holders Report. Now is the opportunity for the members of the Cabinet to make any comments or any questions of the report and colleagues. Is there none? No? That concludes the consideration of the executive report. We'll now move on to agenda item 8, which is the introduction of the council tax long-term empty premiums. So, Councillor Kai, would you please introduce the report and propose the recommendation?
Yes, the report's before members, and I'd like to put forward the recommendations at 3.1. Okay.
I'll second it.
That's great, thank you very much. Councillor Baxter, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wish to ask about how properties are going to be identified as long-term empty. In the report, it clearly explains the various exceptions and acknowledges the difficulty in homeowners alerting the council themselves. Will this therefore require additional officer time to identify such homes, and will this cost more than the potential returns expected from the premium? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Baxter. Just to put it before members, the idea behind these recommendations, it isn't about extra revenue for the council. It's actually about targeting these houses that are empty and getting them back out there in the market. These are properties that we need. We don't want them empty. We don't want them being neglected and trouble coming there. We want to get these properties moving back on the market. So it's not really about revenue, but we have seconded an extra housing officer to help just with this project, really. It is difficult to identify these houses. We're going off really a list that the council already has, where we've got some problem properties, where councillors have let us know differently. By the way, if you have any of these properties in your ward, please get in touch with the officers and let them know. And how it's going to work is once we've identified that they are empty, we've then got to see them empty for 12 months, and then we can impose the 100% levy. And the other part of the question,
I think you've answered it really. It was mainly the additional officer time and the premium that you dealt with.
Okay.
yeah,
Thank you very much. Councillor Bird, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to support the proposition that's been put forward that the council asking the councillors to get in touch with them re-empty properties. We had a home across the road from us. It had been empty for 3 years and was so overgrown it had become a danger to the public. And I managed to find an alternative address for the people who own the property. They own several properties in the area. And I reported it, and within 3 days of my reporting it, the council had been in touch with them. They had come to the property. They had started to clean up the property by cutting back branches and so on, so that it was safe for pedestrians. But then, within a week or so after that, the house had a thorough makeover. It has been sold, and a new family has moved in. So I think if we were to report empty properties, perhaps we would get more results such as the one that I experienced. So thank you very much.
Councillor Fail, please.
I agree with Councillor Birch on that. We should all be reporting houses in empty and dilapidated. We need to bring them back into use. We've got 905 empty houses at this time, yet we're building thousands and thousands of homes. We don't necessarily need to do that. If we can bring some of those 905, I know that it's not all possible to bring them back into use, but a good percentage of them we could bring back into use. So we should all be trying to help the council get them back into use as soon as possible. The point was, I suspect quite a number of councils have encountered issues with residents or ex-residents paying council tax on empty properties. I think we need to try to maintain a sympathetic approach, but I also believe there's a need to incentivise getting the long-term properties back into use. The recommendation is backed, but what I would request is that a record of the impact on individual residents is maintained, and that the impact is closely monitored with a review of the overall impact considered in 12 months' time, and then we can look at this again to see whether it's working as it's hoped it can work. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Fell. No, I totally agree. It's new ground, it's new territory for us. We're not sure how it's going to work, if we're going to get these properties identified and how it's going to affect people. So like you say, it's treading carefully and keeping an eye on the people involved. But yeah, totally agree.
Councillor Rushford, what, please?
Again, I think it's an excellent proposal. It makes use of empty properties, so it will help with the housing situation. And it will also, even though it's secondary to you, will bring in extra revenue for the council, which might well reduce any rise in council tax. So, you know, two very good results. However, I have come across a certain amount of unfairness revealed to me by residents, and also it is a big pot of potential revenue that the council could access, and that is the question of park homes. Are they purely residential or are they holiday? Because an awful lot of people think there's a very unfairness in it, because there are people who stay in those homes that should be just holiday homes for the full time. Now, I know there will be difficulties in looking at this, but I wouldn't like to think that it's put in a box because it is too difficult to sort out. There is a lot of money at stake in there for the council, and also, like I say, people do feel it's unfair. And once that residents on the same park are noticing these people are still living here, they are not paying full council tax at all. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Rushford. Yeah, I know this is something we've had big problems with in the past, in dealing with this. It is a difficult situation. It's difficult to get to the roots of if they are living there or not. But I will speak to Claire about this as well and see how we attack this going forward. But I know it has been a problem, but we're aware of it and we're doing our best.
Would this be a matter for overview?
Thank you. Councillor Torrison, please.
I just want to say it's obviously good news for residents as a whole. I just wonder, is there any way we could use social media to get the residents themselves, to feedback that information to us?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Something I thought I was going to say to Councillor Baxter, and we are going to, when the council tax letters go out in February, we are going to highlight on there that you get your 100% for your property being vacant for a month, your 100% off your council tax. So hopefully then people will be reminded to come forward and list, say they've got an empty property, and then we'll have them on record. But like you say, yeah, any avenue like that, social media, where we can just put this message out there and get people to report them in would be great.
Councillor Berry, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think we appreciate the support that we've received from colleagues on this topic. I think it's important. I mean, our housing team feel quite strongly about the issue of empty houses. I know we've got a situation which nobody wants in the Ball Street, Balmoral, Windsor Terrace area. We need to get that resolved. We need to be pushing those companies that own those houses now to develop them and get people into those properties. So I think I'm more than pleased that we've got this support from everyone. In response to Councillor Fayo, I I think we do try already to help people when we know that the property is empty, and this will be part and parcel of the communications, that we try and encourage people that could they approach somebody to like a social housing provider to assist them, or could they get assistance? We can point to the grants that they may be able to get to develop the house and repair the house. I mean, there's some people who are sadly, sort of too old to be able to make the move, and we can try and get them to make contact with people who could help them sell the property or deal with the property on their behalf. So yes, it is part of a parcel of measures that we hope that will reduce the number of empty homes. I take the point that Councillor Rushworth has mentioned about homes, park homes. I think the exemption they use is that they don't live in the property for the full 12 months. But that is something that I think will be investigated and can be investigated. We have looked at it in the past, but the point is that those people are drawing on the resources of the borough, the facilities of the borough, and they're not paying directly the council tax for it, and that we're upset just as much as residents are that they're having to pay and they're not. So it's a matter that no doubt we can monitor in the future. Thank you for that point.
Okay, there's no more questions or comments. Would Councillor Mackay, as a proposer of the recommendation, would you please respond to the debate, please?
Yeah, I thank councillors for the support, and I think it will be an excellent sort of scheme for the council moving forward, and hopefully we can just get these properties back on the market and get people in them.
Thank you. That concludes the debate. Would members please vote now on the recommendation? So those in favour, please show. Yeah, that's a unanimous decision, so thank you for that. Now, so the recommendations are approved. So the next item is item 9, the Morality Working Group final report. So, Councillor Collington, would you please introduce your report and the proposed recommendation, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The report is before members. I'd like to thank the officers and, of course, the people on the committee. We wasn't always on the same sheet, but the recommendation is 3.1 to 3.5.
Is there a proposal, please? Second for the proposal?
I'll second it.
That's brilliant, thank you. So is there any comments, questions? Thank you. Councillor Duffy, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, as a member of the working group tasked with reviewing the current morality, I have to say I am very disappointed with recommendations that have come from that review, and I just really don't agree with any of them. The whole point of the working group, as we were told, was to look at finding ways to make the mayoral role more attractive to councillors. I believe to achieve that we needed to look at the number of events functions that the mayors were attending and to cut that number to something more acceptable than the 200 plus events that many mayors had undertaken during the year in office. I felt that we needed to produce a more defined job description, actually stipulate how many functions, etc., that the mayor would be expected to attend, and that doing it would make it appear much less demanding than it is. So one of the officers, based on her good knowledge and understanding of what the role entails, put time and effort in producing 5 options for the group to work with. Each option gave a number of possible events and an impact statement based on the terms of reference the group had been set. But after having had several weeks of discussions around the amount of functions being of value to councillors taking on the role, the majority of the group voted to keep the status quo, voting for option 5, which was, and I quote, "As per the current role description, all invitations from whatever source go to the mayor for consideration, approximately 212 meetings and engagement. Impacts. The aims of the morality working group would not be met. Potential future mayors would not be encouraged to take on the role," and this is what we voted for. However, what they did agree to do was change the procedure on how councillors are actually selected to become the next mayor. So instead of councillors being asked to be mayor by length of service, we want to make it so that individual councillors with any length of service put their names forward if they wish to be considered. after sitting on this group, it has become clear to myself that this committee has not been set up to improve the number of councillors willing to become mayor, but it was solely a way of changing how the mayor is selected and in effect actually determine who becomes the next mayor. I can therefore only vote against the recommendations that are referred to us. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Fail.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Labour Group wish to table the following amendment, that the report be referred back to the working group to consider additional options, including transitioning from mayor to a chair. Thank you.
Councillor Phillipson, please.
So I need a second of that, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah.
I'll second that and reserve the right to speak. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Will somebody please advise on whether the amendment is valid, please?
Yes, it's a valid amendment. It complies with the requirements of the Procedure Rule 16.6A, in that it's essentially asking to refer back to the working group for reconsideration.
Do any members wish to speak for or against the amendment? Okay, Councillor Berry, is it?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I wish to oppose this amendment. I think the members of the working group have produced a good report, to be quite honest. We've had difficulty in getting members to express an interest in being mayor, and it's good that a look at the system has been undertaken. And I feel that the recommendations of the working group do give some reassurance to those who might be interested in putting a name forward to be mayor, that they will get some sort of support, not only from their friends and family, but also from councillors themselves, because I think it's quite obvious that we need to up our game in supporting the mayor at various events, and we also need to assist the mayor in fundraising opportunities if that's the wish of the mayor to raise funds. So I think with that backing, that any person that may be interested won't feel that they're going to be on their own. I feel that's been one of the feelings. I'm going to be on my own. In fact, it's up to me to deliver the duties of being mayor. And I feel that this emphasises the need, the support that we as a council should be giving to our mayor. And I think the sort of method of selecting a mayor is eminently sensible. I don't quite see what the objection is to that sort of system. We have the leader of the Conservative group, the leader of the Labour group, and the chief exec to be on that committee to assist and evaluate the person that they select is going to be able to carry out the job. So I feel that just putting this back is just going to just keep the thing open and open and open. I don't see any change. The party has given a recommendation, and I think we should fully support the recommendation so that we can move forward on this and get people interested in being a mayor, because there is a difficulty that we won't have that interest if we don't attract it. And certainly don't want to downgrade the office at all. I think it's important that we keep the title of mayor for a variety of reasons. I think that the public at large expect there to be a mayor. I think government and local authorities do expect to see a mayor. They have their own mayors, our district councils in Lancashire. And I think the public, our people in Wyre, do appreciate the fact that we have a mayor. I think a lot of them feel that the event that they've organised, the work they've been done, has been worthwhile if you get a visit from the mayor and some comments from the mayor. So let's keep this recommendation.
Councillor Bridge, would you like to explain this one, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I urge you to vote against the amendment. It seems to me that your objection is that you lost a vote. Is that not how democracy works? People get together in a room, in a committee, in a full council, they discuss things, which obviously you have lots of meetings. You discussed it, saw all the options.
Changed anything?
Can I finish?
Thank you. Councillor Bridge,
Thank you. There's been so much chatting back tonight, it's hard to speak. So, you have a vote. There were 5 options. People voted for one of the options. Now, whether that was no change or change, that was the democratic right of everybody in that room. You're all scoffing at it. We're talking about democracy. So what is it? You lost the election, you get hammered most years into the council, so let's have another election, because you don't win. It's democracy. Live with it. The majority voted for it. That's it. Your objection is because I didn't win.
Councillor Martin, would you like to come in, please? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Chair.
Sorry, Madam Mayor. Sorry, Chair. I'll get there again. I like to think we're sort of like, I like to be a forward-thinking council. So my opinion is, I think we need a few more younger members on the council. Now, the way I see the morality is, in my opinion, to be the mayor, you've got to be retired. You cannot take on the role. If you have a full-time job and there's 265 engagements.
I'm actually going to interact as the mayor. I actually have a full-time job, and obviously I've been doing, and I have, like you say,
I'd like to finish my point. You're now into your second year, which we appreciate. So, what I'm saying is the problem last year, we are struggling to find people. Now, if you're in full-time employment, not everybody has got that choice. Not everybody can then do the job as the vote's gone at 265 engagements. So unless you're very, very well retired,
that is not. I have actually done that. I work full time, and obviously I have fulfilled my engagements.
And thank you for doing it.
Okay, and I have whatever anybody has asked me to visit, I have visited.
Yeah.
So obviously, as a mayor, as a person in this borough, I have been to all of your events. Anybody that's invited me, from Fleetwood, whatever,
I've just said
you can have
thank
a
you.
look.
I've said thank you. In my opinion, you have to be retired.
Councillor Higginson, would you like to come in, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This isn't about getting rid of the morality at all. This is about asking whether it has outlived its usefulness, and if it hasn't, we can perhaps move forward, and we can move forward by changing things. I really don't subscribe to this view of if it's broken, carry on, because this appears to be what it is. And I share Councillor Martin's view that we're very grateful for the fact that you've soldiered on for a second year, even though you're in full-time employment.
I haven't soldiered on. I have enjoyed every minute of it, and I have represented this borough.
Am I allowed to continue with my comments?
Well,
it's not a question, it's a debate, with all respect. It's a debate. It's a debate. We've moved an amendment. It is a debate.
That's fine.
I'll carry on then if that's all right. Thank you very much. I think the point that my colleague was making was the fact that I can't remember the last time we had the same mayor as the previous year. And we're very grateful to you for doing that.
Excuse me, I'd like to come in.
Oh, come on.
We're having a debate. The mayor took over because I was too ill to do it. That's why she did the second term. Okay?
Can I carry on now? But this is an amendment. And we're having a debate. I know you don't like having debates. It's about time we did have some debates in this chamber. What I'm suggesting to you is for the first time that I can remember that the mayor has done a second term. You seem very sensitive about this, but it is evidence that clearly, perhaps, we are not fulfilling this role by other councillors. So we need to look at the system in which we have the mayor, which is why we have submitted this amendment. Councillor Bridge talks about democracy.
How do we do that?
Councillor Bridge talks about democracy as though it's all done and dusted. What we have on this agenda, Madam Mayor, is a recommendation. When it's a recommendation, we then debate it. And we have moved an amendment. So that is why we're having a debate. So then we have the vote, and that is democracy, and that is what the policy will be of this authority. I think the Chief Executive would confirm that that is correct. Thank you. So what I'm suggesting here is that, although I wasn't on the working group, Councillor Duffy has suggested that we are voting for a status quo, and it seems to me that people that would like to be there possibly can't do it because they haven't got the time to put the commitment in, or they can't afford to do it. They can't afford to do it. It's all right saying, well, we should all attend these functions and make contributions. Fine, but you can't make that compulsory. It's got to fund itself. And that's why we are suggesting that we take it away for consideration, and that is what we have moved as an amendment. And that, councillors, is democracy. Thank you.
Please.
Yeah, first of all, it clearly states in 3.1 that attending events and fundraising is a choice of the individual. Now, it also says that every single morality is unique. And second, I work full time, it certainly won't bar me. As for the suggestion of calling people, the actual mayor, chairman, are we supposed to drop the role of, the name of councillor and replace it with something like comrades? It's just ridiculous.
Good idea. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I, as I'm sure you're aware, was part of the working group. We had quite a strong debate on all the issues that's been mentioned this evening. The issue of the 270 events, it was appreciated that these events were varied and of a full spectrum of meeting different members of our community, from school children through to the Lord Lieutenant. It was felt that it would not be fair to dictate how many events the mayor would go to by the council, and it was felt it was more appropriate that the mayor could choose which events suited their morality. We clearly want to make it more available to members so they can take on the role of the mayoralty when it's appropriate for them. In some cases, it may be when they retire. In other cases, it may be when their children have left home and before they have to look after grandchildren. Or it may be that someone is a situation when they can do it in their younger years and give it more enthusiasm and more power and speed. The whole ethos of the proposal we've put before the Chamber this evening is to make the mayoralty not as onerous as what people assume. The idea is that the mayor themselves dictates their mayoralty, and it was felt to leave as much flexibility so that the mayor can choose his or her morality events they choose to wish to go to or not, as the case may be.
Thank you for that. Councillor Ferguson. Councillor Lamarina, please.
Thank you, Madam. Just a quick point. It'd be interesting to see how many invitations the chair gets to go and open a school or cut a ribbon or go to some fete. Nobody wanted the chair to come. It just makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It's got to be the chair will be able to wear all the chains, and that's what people like to see. That's what school kids like to see. It just makes no sense to ask the chair to come to open something. It's just nuts.
Thank you.
Councillor Duffy, would you like to come in again, please? Thank you.
Sorry, thank you. I'm just lost for words. Councillor Robertson actually has just quoted exactly where we are now, because that's what the meeting did. It went a full circle. And as for Councillor Bridge saying, I don't like the vote, the whole point was to review and try and modernise the mayoralty. And they voted for the one option that actually said, this isn't us, this came from the officer, the aim of the morality working group would not be met. So to me, we have wasted our time because we've got nowhere. This isn't about me upset or lost or not. This is about not achieving anything. We've not achieved what we were set to do. So no, it's not about me spitting my dummy out because I've lost the vote. This is because we've not achieved anything. It's the fact that, yes, mayors now can choose what they go to, but the fact is, if they see what someone else has done, they will do what they've done in the past. And that is what is putting a negativity on people actually taking on their own. And I think you'll find you'll probably still have to go right down the list, or I don't know, I think in a couple of years' time we'll still be saying who's going to be mayor. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
So with the proposal of amendment, please respond to the debate.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the first thing to say is we all appreciate the efforts of Councillor Robinson, and we aren't saying, you know, it's nothing personal. This is just a generalisation we're making about the mayor role over the last, from what we've seen in the past. The second thing to say is, with no evidence presented or considered, the working group removed the option at the very first meeting to consider the role of chair. That shouldn't have happened. Despite the known problems with filling the role of mayor, the sum total of these recommendations amounts to the status quo being maintained, albeit with a different and unsatisfactory form of selecting the next mayor. This was an opportunity to modernise the role of mayor, reducing the workload to a manageable level and removing or reducing the inefficient and ineffective charity part of the role. It was an opportunity to attract more interest in the role. As it is, it virtually removes from the pool of people wishing to do it anyone in full-time employment, apart from the odd exception. And for those with a busy schedule, it's just a non-starter. The number of councillors interested in doing this is minimal. And these recommendations resolve nothing. They only kick the can down the road. The problems are still there. And yes, the council may get a few volunteers, but it really is time to modernise and move with the changing times. So once again, I propose the amendment that the report be referred back to the working group to consider additional options, including transitioning from a mayor to a chair.
So we'll now move to the vote on the amendments. So those in favour, please show. Those against? So the amendment is lost. We will now therefore continue to debate the original motion. Do any members wish to propose any further amendments to amend the motion? Another amendment. Councillor Fail.
The Labour Group would wish to table a second amendment that the report be referred back to the working group in order to reconsider the recommendations about the number of events each mayor is expected to attend and the selection process. No. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we can accept that as a valid amendment.
Is there a seconder for that? Okay. Not to go in there.
Yeah, again, I'll say it again, it's not. Democracy is that you have a vote. Of course we're having a vote again, and that's fine, but you're asking for something that democratically voted against, which is our the thing we're putting forward. That's what I'm meaning. We're putting this forward again. You are trying to remind it. That is, you have a right to do that, but in actual fact, you are merely asking for a vote on something that you did not get. You are asking for something that the majority does not want. And the arrogance of you to say, arrogance to say, well, do you know what? We're right. We've got it right, you know. You lot are all completely wrong. But we are right. We are. Of course we are. You don't vote for us, but we're right. So the arrogance is incredible. So again, I would say, let's not vote for this. We've had the debate. Let's just go to the vote and see who's who.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wasn't going to speak, but I've got to respond to Councillor Bridge, who clearly has learned nothing tonight. We're having a debate. We're entitled to discuss things.
I said you were.
The First Amendment failed. We're entitled to a Second Amendment. And I think it must have been that long since we've had a proper debate in this chamber. Half of the councillors don't understand what the rules are. Because no doubt someone will want to interrupt me again.
Arrogance.
Indeed, it is arrogance. When I'm speaking in an amendment, when we're having a debate and it isn't a question, there is no clock on. So it is the mayor that should allow us. So you're right that it's arrogant, but the arrogance isn't on this side, it is on that side, some of your colleagues. And democracy is that we're entitled to move an amendment and debate it. And that's all I wanted to say. I think it's all been said. But in response to Councillor Bridge.
Councillor Stevenson, please.
I've asked you, Madam Mayor, what I'm going to say now is I don't know whether it will go down well with my group or not. I think the report by Alex is a fair, honest and sensible report. I don't see anything wrong with it. I obviously do accept that my side feels also that it should be discussed and with amendments which would either strengthen it or assist it on its way because it's got a fair way to go yet. Now, in the 11 years I've been on this council, three separate occasions, I've seen several mayors come and go, good people, my party, Conservatives, I can't think of anyone else, it's been one or the other, and it's gone down very well. It's always been fair, we've had a good debate, it's been good. But now, coming on now at this time, I think things are not quite as amicable as they used to be. Now, I feel that, what's been said is correct. It's difficult to get people to do the job, either because, they can't afford to do it, or they just don't want to do it, they haven't got the time. So I think that the situation is simply like this, that the seniority rule must be kept where possible. That where there's someone senior in the list who's satisfactory to the council, they should be offered the situation of the mayor office. Now, if after due course, nobody then wants it, then I think it's perfectly fair to put Plan B into operation and to look at it again, to maybe set up another committee or whatever. But I think it's vitally important we keep anything that smacks of politics away out of it altogether. The election procedure must look absolutely non-political, as it always has done in the past. So I would say very strongly, and I mean this very sincerely, Simon, and to all of you in here, that I think the seniority should take precedent firstly, and that if somebody is prepared to take it who is acceptable to the members of this council, then they should be offered the position. If there isn't anyone, I'll just repeat myself, then Plan B, what Alice says or whatever is in here, because I've not really gone through, I never do, then that should be. So, I feel that very sensible. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the vote.
I think everybody has had a fair debate over this, and I think we need to go to the vote.
I'm not allowed to say anything.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I haven't summed up the.
We're coming back to it.
Okay. No, it's still on the amendment. It needs some up. I don't need to. I'm going to.
I think I've said everything, and I'm just going to say, we're not having it over here. We just want to do what is right, and what we know that we know. It's not that we don't agree with it. It's not that nothing's changed. That's all. But there were other options that we could have used. It's not a case of, oh, I didn't get my way. It's the fact that we've not met what we were said. You know, it actually says, I'll say it again, the aim and morality working group would not be met. Future mayors would not be encouraged to take on the role. So, like I said, wasted all the time in doing that to be back to square one. And I just feel that your attitude towards us in wanting to debate this is atrocious, really. It is a debate, but all we get from you is, oh, you're arrogant because, we're there to question anything. We're not. We're here to debate, just like Kevin says, and we've got absolutely nowhere in modernising the morality.
Look at the photo of the members who just gone to the debate. So,
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to answer the question on democracy, can I just say that the working group had an inbuilt majority of Conservatives, so what a surprise it came out as it did. First thing, point one, it doesn't. These proposals do not result in any modernisation whatsoever. Point two, it doesn't improve the chances of councillors putting their name forward. It wrongly keeps the status quo, and for those reasons, I would ask that you please support this amendment. Thank you.
We will now move on to the vote of the amendment. So those in favour, please show. Those against? The amendment is lost, and we will now therefore continue the debate of the original motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As an ignorant newbie from the wrong side of the tracks, can I ask one simple question? How many amendments can be proposed in one night, and do we need camp beds? Thank you.
You can't give the time, don't be the crowd.
Please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the benefit of the members, I just feel I should just read out item 514 of the report. The group found that traditionally there was an assumption that the
mayor must attend all events that they were invited to. This report is an opportunity to remind the council that the mayor has discretion over the events they attend. Similarly, even though the mayor must nominate a charity for any donations received, the option of fundraising for the charity is at the discretion of the individual mayor. I'd also like to just read out item 5.6. The group recognise the value of highlighting that the morality role attendance at events and fundraising is the choice of the individual mayor. That is in the report, and all I'm doing is quoting the report. I reviewed what Councillor Duffy is saying, and I reiterate that this report is an opportunity to make a fresh start and give the mayor the choice of how they do their morality. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Brunner.
Can I just ask, is there an interval time for review of this policy if it doesn't have the desired effect, or in general was that discussed because I couldn't see in the report? Thank you.
Councillor Collison, as I propose the recommendation, would you please respond to the debate?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe that the recommendations from 3.1 to 3.5 does cover. Sorry. Could you hear that before? It does cover a change in the mayoralty. I've been on the council, this is my 21st year, and there's been numerous mayors, both from the opposite side of the room and back. I can't remember anyone that was, it didn't matter about age groups. I am what you called an OAP, but I'm still employed and I'm self-employed. But I did take on the mayoralty myself in 1718. My choices, your choices are, and it says in 3.1 that you can choose how many functions you go to. So it is the independent people who want to have their choice. Let's face it, we're all adults in this chamber, and if you make a choice to attend a function or not, that is entirely up to you. So I move the recommendations of 3.1 to 3.5. Thank you very much.
That concludes the debate. So would members please vote now on the recommendation. Those in favour, please show. Those against? Any abstentions? Can I just clarify abstentions, please? There was one there. Right, just a one. Two. Thank you. So the recommendations are approved. So the next item is item 10. Member allowance scheme. So Councillor Larinell, would you like to speak there, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have statements on behalf of Councillor Vincent. I have asked Peter to read this on my behalf, as I am unable to attend tonight due to celebrating my wedding anniversary. The Independent Remuneration Panel report in the agenda suggests that I have delegated responsibilities, including sitting on outside panels, to Roger as my deputy, and stated that Roger has an increased workload because of my full-time employment. I need to address this as it is not correct. Members have been provided with the panel's minutes of Roger and my meeting with them. Nowhere in these minutes do they mention my employment being a factor. That is because it is not. Today is the first time Roger has attended any outside body on which I am a member on my behalf. This was not because of full-time employment, but because I was on a local government association training course on how best to transform this council. Roger has attended some meetings on my behalf, but not many. The role of deputy leader has changed, and the work done has increased over several years. I know this as I was Roger's predecessor. David Henderson asked Alan Vinton and then myself to attend his weekly briefings with the Chief Executive and the Directors, when the previous leader, Mr Gibson, had not. And I have asked Roger to do the same. I believe that it is important that the Deputy Leader is fully informed. He does not attend my one-to-one meetings with Rebecca, which happen every week. I would say that over 90% of the meetings Roger attends in his role as Deputy Leader are meetings that I am also present at. The IRP do not typically make recommendations based on 1 year's data.
Could I raise a point of order, please, Madam Mayor?
Would you like to just sit there by the
I think in the standing orders, I'm entitled to raise a point of order. Is that right, Chief Executive? I think it is, isn't it? Yeah. I just want to ask. Thank you. We're all in things this evening. I just want to ask a question. Well, it's a point of order which follows a question, and the Chief has given me permission to raise a point of order. And the question is, I'd like to ask, through you, Madam Mayor, to the Chief Executive, whether a written statement is actually, what is the legalities of a written statement when a member of this council is absent? Does it set a new precedent? It's just a point of order, that's all.
Okay, what happens here? Would you like to carry on, please?
Well, the question is, the point of order is, what is the regulation about listening to a statement here when the member of whom it refers to is not present? Just so that we all know what the situation is. Thank you. So what's the answer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Is it quite lawful? Is it quite legal?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yes, thank you.
The IRP do not typically make recommendations based on 1 year's data, and will look to the commitment and time required in the role over several years. I believe this is what they have done here, and that the reference to my employment status is unhelpful and misleading. A high number of councillors are employees of working age. This should never be a barrier to someone being a leader, a chair, or a cabinet member. I have moved the time of cabinet to 6 p.m. to allow members who work a better opportunity to take part and to make these meetings more accessible. Full-time employment should never be a barrier to people progressing, but as a self-employed person who can make appointments as required. The IRP do good work, and I am grateful to them for their efforts and their recommendations. But the increased work required by the Deputy Leader has nothing to do with my employment or my availability to discharge my responsibilities as leader. I have delegated much less to Roger than the former leader delegated to me when I was his deputy, and so I trust that any confusion about this has now been resolved. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Berry, would you please introduce the report and propose recommendations?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Can I stress to members that these are the recommendations of an independent remuneration panel, i.e. they are completely independent, and in my view they recognise the roles, responsibilities and hard work that are put in by members. The recommendations are set out fully in paragraph 3 of the report. The basic allowance for councils increased by 3.88%. The deputy leader has an increase. The chair of audit and standards has an increase in their responsibility in line with ONS and planning chairs, and there is an increase in the allowance to the mayor and deputy mayor, and it recognises our lead members getting a fixed sum of £250. All these allowances are set out in Appendix 2. A document has been provided, which has been sent out with the pack that is before. It was only sent out today, and it's important that when myself and the leader met with the panel, it was stressed that the role was more involved with supporting the leader and representing the council at outside meetings aimed at securing additional resources for the council. In looking at the balance of responsibilities between the respective portfolio holders, it was recognised it was untimely that any future deputy, it was unlikely that any future deputy leader would not be a portfolio holder, and therefore the role of deputy leader were in addition to those of a portfolio holder's duties. And this is one of the things that the panel sort of stressed. They said, well, look, some councils, the deputy leader doesn't have a portfolio. And here I do, and that's the intention of the leader, that the deputy will also have a portfolio. So there are recognised roles that the deputy has to do. In fact, I do attend meetings, and in fact, I'm a bit of an understudy. That if the leader can't attend the meeting because he's ill or something like that, then I've got to be prepared to stand in, like I am this evening. But I can confirm what what Councillor Marinell has related. The only events and meetings that I have attended, I've been asked to attend by the leader, are on occasions when he's got a prior meeting or an event he's got to attend. It's nothing to do with his job, it's just that he had two events and meetings, and he's given me one of those to deal with on his behalf. And in fact, I did that this morning. I went to the leaders' meeting at County Hall because he was on a course with the chief exec. So, what he said, I want to absolutely confirm. It's nothing to do with his job. It's the fact that there's double events, and it was important that somebody was at those events or at those meetings representing this council and the residents of Wyre, and that's precisely what I did this morning. So I think we should take the heat out of that argument. Anyone any sort of concern or worries or wants to make a point, it's not true when it says that it's just because of his workload that I'm doing jobs. It's because we want to be able to attend the maximum amount of ceremonies, events and meetings.
Is there a seconder? The proposal? Okay. Councillor Duffy, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm rather confused then here. So, why was this not pulled before the 5.2, before the agenda went out? Does Councillor Vincent not scrutinise as leader what is in the report? Because I'm sorry, it clearly explains that Councillor Vincent in this is unable to fulfil the role of leader due to working full time, resulting in obviously requiring his deputy to take more duties. We haven't got an argument with the deputy getting more allowance because obviously he's doing more work. But obviously, working full time is not a barrier to being a hard working ward councillor. There are many in here that manage to work both full time and do the role admirably. However, overseeing a ward is not as demanding and time consuming as overseeing the whole of the borough. And as it states there, they're saying he's not being able to do it because he's working full time. It's all right saying it's wrong, it's in the report, so I'm going off the report. Any council leader should be 100% committed to the role and not be reliant on a deputy to cover them, except in circumstances that are exceptional perhaps. Is it not therefore unthinkable then that Councillor Vincent is continuing his role when he admits there, because I'm going off what is in that report, he could have changed that report before it went out, he cannot fully fulfil his duties. Is it not time that he stepped down and allowed someone else who can give 100% to the role and to the residents of Wyre? And you never know actually in time, we may actually find a leader that actually chooses to live in the ward and actually support the borough. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yeah. Point of order. That last statement is completely out of order.
It's true though. It's true.
He is committed to this borough more.
Oh, it's different when they interrupt me, but when I'm interrupted, that's quite all right. It's disgraceful, is this?
Thank you.
Absolutely disgraceful.
Thank you, Mr. Councillor Higginson.
It's fact though.
Thank you.
It's a simple fact that what is stated is untrue. It's not correct. So it may have been missed. When we noticed it, we obviously felt that it had to be corrected. In fairness to Councillor Vincent, who devotes 100% to the job, he does a heck of a lot. He starts I know he really does put his effort in, and he attends meetings completely. But I think the main thing is that, without fear or favour, he does his best to support all councils, whichever party, to make sure that what they say is taken into account and we try and act on any of their concerns. I have no doubt, I can confirm that it's not true. Factually, it's incorrect. So that is a matter of fact.
Well, thanks, Madam Mayor. It's just an observation that when I saw this 5.2, I thought to myself, goodness me, I thought, I've been campaigning for this for 35 years. Short working week and no loss in pay. Fair play to the man. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I have nothing further to add. I'm really sorry that this debate has taken place in this fashion, to be quite honest, because it's obvious that Council of Internet puts 100% effort, if not more, into the job. I think it's important now that the allowances, we now consider the allowances to members, if there's any debate on that. I feel that they are in line. I think the allowances increases are fair, and I stress once more, this is an independent panel who feel that this is appropriate. They take into account other councils as well. So I think they felt that we needed an uplift in the various areas, and that's what we've got to reflect the roles and responsibilities of us as councils.
That concludes the debate. So,
Can I say something or not? Too late.
Would members please vote now on the recommendation? Those in favour, please show. Those against? Any abstentions? The recommendations are approved. The next item is item 12, the periodic reports. So the planning committee, Councillor Endell, would you please introduce the report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. You have my report before you, and I will take any questions.
Councillor Fielding?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It was interesting to see in the report that 97% of all planning applications to Wyre are decided using delegated powers. How does this figure compare with other district authorities in Lancashire? Thank you, Madam Mayor.
I'm not certain, Madam Mayor. The answer to that question, I will find out and I will report that directly to you. Thank you.
If no other members have anything to say, can I thank Councillor Endell and members of the committee for all the hard work that they've put in. It's a new committee. And they've also not only had to deal with the planning application, but they've also had the training exercises to consider as well and to take part in. So, well done. You're doing a grand job, and we appreciate the service and the long work that the members of the committee put into this.
Thank you. The report is noted. So the next item is item 13, the periodic report of the League member for Children and Young People. Councillor Baxter, would you please introduce the report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My report is before members, and I will be happy to accept any questions or remarks. I'd like to send a special thank you to my predecessor, Andrea Kay. Whilst I was throwing in to this part way through, I realised what a force Andrea has been, and I will continue to do my best whilst filling in. In addition, Shelley Birch, the officer, has been a great help to me in the role, and we have plenty of ideas which we hope to bring to fruition over the coming year.
which has already been on the phone to me this morning about.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And can I just pass on my regards for this particular activity that's taken place around Democracy Week, and to yourself, Councillor Baxter, for being able to step in and pick up this piece of work. One of the first things as a new councillor that I had a chat with actually over the aisle with one of the other councillors, Councillor Heston, was about the importance of involving young people in this chamber to kind of get them more engaged in democracy, get them more involved in understanding, and that this is something that they should perhaps be understanding as we go forward. The only perhaps remark I would say is that after expressing such an interest in it from the beginning, my first knowledge of this activity was through the actual press release. And it would just be to ask in future, if you have got some great ideas, if you could actually share that with the rest of the councillors wherever possible, so that we can perhaps get involved and support this activity as well. Thank you.
Yeah, just one thing, thank you.
Completely agree, I'm more than happy to work with you on that.
Councillor Nominal, please.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to add to Councillor Wells, thanks to Councillor Baxter. It was a really good exercise, and some of the questions that came from the kids were just absolutely amazing. So they were quite surprising, some of the questions as well. Just stuff that you would not have expected them to ask, and it made them really great entertaining. More than a couple of days of that week, it was great stuff. So yeah, thank you, Councillor Baxter. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Brown, please.
Yeah, I'd just also like to thank Councillor Baxter for standing in and stepping up in place of Councillor Kay. We've all been saddened by Councillor Kay and her illness. I want to particularly recognise the work that she put into the Wyre scheme which we held at Marine Hall. It was her initiative that got the thing going. She did a lot of that organisation, but she was helped by Shelley Birch, who did a lot, but it was her drive, was Councillor Kay's drive that got the thing up and running. So I'd like to recognise that, and I think it was great we had a local democracy week. It's good to see schools from all areas of Wyre taking part in that. I think that was a good thing that we got interest from schools far and wide in the borough. Thank you very much for the work you have put into it.
The report is noted, and the next item is the periodic report of the lead member of the mental health report, and obviously that is myself. So the report is in front of the members. So if anybody has any questions. Okay. Yes, Councillor.
Madam Mayor, I think it would be very remiss of me if I didn't thank you for the services you do. It's such an important job. I remember saying to you last time, and you continue to do it in spite of doing the work as Mayor. And it's such an important service, isn't it? And I can see from the activities that you take part and the interest that you have. So I hope it continues as our own for some time, because it really does.
Thank you very much for your kind words. Thank you. The report is noted. The next item is item 15. Periodic report of the lead member for the Armed Forces. So, Councillor Marinell, would you please introduce your report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's 44 members, but just before I do that, there's something I'd like to add in, which will be probably on next year's report, but it's worth mentioning now. On the 5th of February, we have an NTM veteran, so the nuclear testing that took place. We have one of the veterans from there actually come into the Mayor's office, so we're doing a little thing with a plaque and everything, so that would be absolutely brilliant. So that's taking place in the Mayor's parlour. But it's just worth noting that, as far as I'm aware, he is the only NTM veteran that has come forward in the whole of Lancashire so far. So it just goes to show, how few there are all around the country, because most of them have basically died from what happened during the nuclear testing. So it's good to see that. So it's something I'm really looking forward to going to in the Mayor's parlour on the 5th of February. So my report for all members, happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Any questions? Yes.
Thank you. It's more a comment than a question, as Councillor Marinell knows. I started a veterans breakfast at Garstang, and it's on the 4th of March. It's our 5th anniversary. There was Dulcie and myself and 2 veterans when it first started, and the last now have 120 on our books at Garston Veterans, and we have a gentleman who was at the D-Day landings, and he is probably more active than I am sometimes, but it is a wonderful thing that we started this the veterans, and there's some wonderful people who have done some really marvellous things for this country. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Berry, yes, thank you.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, can I just thank Councillor Marino for all the work that he's putting into this. Our veterans are most important, and it's great that we're recognising the work that you are doing for them and their families, of course.
Yeah, very quickly. I'd like to just thank Council as well, because they do a lot of work on the veterans, and I know that Lorraine does as well. So we'll just pass on my thanks to that as well. There's a lot of stuff going on with the veterans, and it's greatly appreciated. So thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you for that. The report is noted, and the next item is item 16, the senior leadership team restructure. So, Councillor Berry, would you? Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry. Would you like to speak this over? Councillor Berry, would you please introduce the report and propose a recommendation?
Right. Thank you, Madam Mayor. We want to ensure that the senior leadership team structure has the capacity and skills to deliver the council's priorities over the next 4 years, as set out in the council plan, which was approved by us at our November meeting of the council. The proposal involves, firstly, strengthening the roles and responsibilities and expectations we have of the members of the senior leadership team. Secondly, it strengthens the position and responsibility of monitoring officer. And thirdly, it creates a directorate of transformation to deliver our priority of innovation and customer-focused delivery. Fourthly, by addressing the salary levels of the four directors and 8 assistant directors, so as to be in line with other local authorities, so that we can retain and attract staff at these levels. These new salaries are shown at paragraph 9.6 of the report. It's a long report, but in a nutshell, the working scope and composition of the Environment Directorate will remain the same. The Communities and Planning Directorate has been having an overcapacity issue, and we propose to transfer communications, visitor economy, economic development and theatres from this directorate to the new Transformation and Change Directorate. In addition, the Transformation and Change Directorate will undertake the work of policy information, change, HR, ICT, the contact centre and corporate systems. The current, I think the report does mention that the current head of the contact centre will be taking voluntary retirement, and that is mentioned in the report. I stress it is a voluntary retirement that he has mentioned and has requested. The fourth directorate is of finance and governance. Will bring together the finance revenues, which includes council tax, business rates and debt recovery and benefits, together with governance and monitoring and legal. And the new post of Assistant Director of Governance and Legal will be within this directorate. The costs of these new posts are summarised in paragraph 10 of the report, and the consultation with staff and union reps are outlined in paragraph 11 of the report. I propose that we accept the recommendations that are set out in paragraphs 3.1 and 3.2 of the report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Is there a second of the proposal?
Just to say, I do think it's important that we do retain staff. It's important. We've got some excellent staff, and some of them potentially are underpaid compared with other authorities. What we don't want to see is those staff leaving and going elsewhere. So, fully in support of trying to retain our best staff, and obviously there's probably some further work on this down the line with other members of staff, but at the high level, we're in support of this.
Councillor Balshaw, please.
It's just a quick question, thank you, Madam Mayor. I've got a broken one. Good job, got a big one.
Sorry.
Right. Councillor, fail. First you call me Sturzica, then you leave me on that. I don't know. Is anybody losing their job because of this, other than the voluntary redundancy?
I'm not aware. I'm not aware of that. Quite honest, no.
Thank you.
Councillor York, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It was just a query. Have you got any thought, not against this restructure, but do we have a pay policy that looks at the entry-level officers and how many steps it is? You know, like some companies have like 10 times the amount you can have between bottom level and top level, or sometimes 20 levels. Do we have anything like that so that the entry level doesn't get too far behind?
I think at the present time we've tried to sort of address those middle rankers as well. An offer has been made, as I understand it, but it's still subject to negotiations with the union. We want to press ahead with it, to be quite honest. You know, I think that is something that I hope will come out very quickly. You know, sort of. I think this is one of the things that we want to do. We realise we've got, as Councillor Fairley has said, we've got to retain our staff and attract staff. And I think we want to make it. I think going forward, you know, we've got a lot of work to do, and I think that it's a very attractive council to come and work with, quite frankly, and we want that to be embedded in the offers that we make to staff. So yes, I'm hoping that we will keep all this under review. Okay.
No more questions or comments? Do you want to add to that, Councillor Berry?
No, I'm more than happy that we've got the support of the Labour group through Councillor Fair, and you know, I think it's going to be exciting times. So I'm sure we can all enjoy that with the new restructure that we're proposing. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
That concludes the debate. So would members please now vote on the recommendation? Those in favour, please show. Those against?